Indiana Jones, Indiana It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute, the podcast where we get to the heart of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom 1 minute at a time. I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Jerry Porter.
And I'm Scott Rosann.
Welcome back, Scott.
Thanks.
Nice of you to come back to this depressed, starving village to eat bugs and talk about spooky stuff.
I'm really hungry, too.
Yeah, well, we came to the right place.
Leaves. Yeah.
We are here to discuss minute 25 of Temple of Doom, which begins with the shaman laughing creepily, and it ends with the chieftain showing them the place where the stones were taken.
See, I like because minute 24 ended with the shaman laughing for a while. And then this minute begins and he's still laughing for a while. And the music kind of gets creepy and there's this crazy, like, dark shadow that comes over him. And I love it because it's like he's in on this dark secret that he thinks is really funny because Indy doesn't know what it is yet.
Right.
Right. And the way in a second that he's like, they say, like, Indy's like, we weren't brought here, we crashed. And of course, we do have to get the one Willie moment that ruins the scene. Not ruins the scene, but it's like, that's what I was cringing against. Is her, we crashed. It's like, thanks, Willie, we got it.
Yeah.
I've gone, I don't know, 5-6 minutes without having anything bad to say about Willie. Yeah. And then it crashed. This has stood out in my mind for 30 years, this one line, just like, as just a jewel of, how she clashes with this movie sometimes. Well, but then after that, he's like, no. And it's like a creepy kind of amiable. Like it's almost like, he might be like an evil serial killer or something. And they're actually trapped and doomed now. Or he's just, no, you poor person who doesn't understand like how the universe works. You were brought here. Like it could go either way at this 1 second.
And I just, for the record, Pete, that wasn't me Willie beating.
Oh, that's true.
Well, I didn't do any. I had no knee-jerk Willie defense there either. So I recognize that.
No, but what it is, I'm with you there, Tom, because this is actually a very sobering scene, and it's a serious scene, and it's why we like it, because the shaman's great, and Indy's great, and all the actors are great, and Shorty is great too.
Yeah.
And then they do cut to that, and it is a little out of place. It breaks the timbre of the scene.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for it. There's and even if they thought like, it'll be kind of funny, it's like, why would you interject something kind of funny into the scene? Like
right.
That's a crazy idea to even attempt, and you didn't do it right.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's not a funny scene. I mean, we just heard previously this is more food than these people eat in a week.
Right.
Like, that's not funny.
It's like if Musgrove had bit into a jelly donut, like when they're telling him about the Staff of Ra, and it went all over Hootkin's shirt or something. Whoops.
Actually, I would have been fine with that.
Sure.
Old fatty piglet.
Actually, Musgrove's the other guy, isn't he?
Yeah,
no, Musgrove's the
I
specifically
him to eat the
didn't
donut.
have.
Yeah, that's right.
I specifically didn't say Porkins eating a jelly donut.
No,
I didn't want to go there.
That's right. No, I want the other guy to do it. The guy who's also the general from Superman 2 who gets his shoulder epaulets pulled off.
Yes.
And I want him to bite into the jelly donut, and then
it gets all over.
And then Hootkins
Porkins
to go.
That was the last one, wasn't it?
I'm feeling bad for going to Chunk last episode.
Yeah, this is. I can't stand the Goonies, so the less time I spend thinking about the relationship between those two movies, the better.
The more we talk about Temple of Doom, the more people start bringing up Goonies, and I've seen Goonies maybe twice, and not since like 1985 or whenever it came out. And I need to either. I have a feeling I don't care that much about it, and I feel bad because some people love it.
Ugh.
I think you and I were talking about this, Scott. That's like right on the cusp of like, I think it's like a generational divide that like I'm just on the cusp of. Like I'm 10 minutes too old to be into Goonies.
I used to be into it like crazy. Like I can remember, around this time, because it was certainly this year or the year after, I think, right? 84, 85.
I think it was the year after, yeah.
I think it was 85, yeah.
And I thought it was great because it's like it had, I can remember really liking all the sort of ILM stuff in it, the weird sort of 80s, visual effects and things like that. It's not it's not a really coherent piece of movie making. It's got that sort of really coked up Richard Donner 80s kind of thing that he was doing at that time. Scrooged is like that, although it's a much better movie, and it's like but I loved it and then tried to rewatch it as a grown up and couldn't find enough things to shove into my eyes. Like, it was just awful, just awful. Ugh. And you just sit there and you're just like, grown-ups made this. This is on purpose. Terrible. Yeah. And it stood the test of time. It's a big cult hit. Oh, I hate it. I'm leaving.
I'm still curious to see it again because maybe I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I just watched it a couple weeks ago.
I've never seen the Goonies.
You've never seen it?
Oh, really?
I've never seen the Goonies.
Oh, that'd be interesting to see what your take on it would be, having never seen.
I can't wait after. I better have a pile of stuff to shove in my eyes. This is going to be awesome.
Well, Pete, what did you think when you watched it again?
Well, I saw it when it came out, and I loved it. Yeah. And then I saw it a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh, like I had Scott's reaction. And then I saw it a few days ago, or a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I kind of enjoy this. And I see, like, there are a lot of parallels between that movie, I think, and Temple of Doom. And
oh, sure, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there are things that I'm liking more about Temple of Doom now than I used to. And maybe that's why I had sort of a softer spot for the Goonies. Right. And I think my favorite part of that movie is Jonathan K. Kwan, too. I think he's hilarious.
Hilarious. That's putting a fine point on what he is, I think.
You mentioned things about, that movie, or things about Temple of Doom or Goonies that you watch now and you like. And I feel like this scene, like with Temple of Doom watching it, this scene is actually a scene that I really like.
Yeah.
With the shaman minutes. And the Willie thing is a little jarring.
Right.
That's all.
But it's minor. It's quick and it's gone, and then we're back into it. We were talking yesterday a lot about the shaman and the sort of the holiness of the scene and the spirituality of it and stuff. And I'm having a really hard time with not seeing this whole thing as a guy who is misreading a situation and thinking that Indy is a messenger from Shiva, and he's obviously not. Like, I'm kind of on Indy's side right now. I'm kind of like, no. They just fell out of an airplane. And like, one thing that really freaks me out about this is the shaman is like, that's why, I forget what he says exactly, but like, brought you from the sky.
Yeah.
But he saw them on the river. Like, he saw them float down a river. He doesn't know anything about an airplane.
No, that's not true. We don't know. He could have looked up and seen it.
He has been teleporting the entire time. He could have been up on the mountain.
Wait a minute. They fall out of that plane 16 miles from where they end up in the river. It's like they go down that mountain, and then they're down a cliff, and then they go down rapids.
Listen, Shiva is Shiva.
Or he saw it in a dream, maybe, right?
He probably heard Willie screaming, like, from 16 miles away.
Triangulated.
We're not sinking, we're crashing. No. No.
I don't know, maybe Shiva's like, maybe I'll have regrets. He'll be like, I shouldn't have done this.
She wasn't supposed to get on the plane.
Yeah, I thought she was
only
just going
supposed to bring the
back
archaeologist.
I just wonder how far back does it go, Shiva's influence over these events? Is it like Shiva make you take the poison and not have the antidote and fall through Club Obi-Wan?
Why wouldn't Shiva let Indy in on this plan if that was the idea? Like,
Well, Indy'd say no.
He would,
Indy'd just say no.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's true.
What's in it for me?
Anyway.
What's in it for me, Shiva?
Yeah.
Do you have any of those statues?
You have a linga?
Yeah.
You got a linga lying around?
Those gold statues of you back there? Something,
Right.
But what I do realize here, at least me, is that there's two reasons I do believe, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I wasn't saying this a week ago. But there's two reasons I do believe that this is Indy's destiny after watching minute 24 and 25. And
wow,
the shaman's laugh.
That'll sell you on anything.
Yeah, that seals it right there. I don't even need the second reason.
All right.
oh no.
No, I mean I guess the second reason is you hear the Temple of Doom theme for the first time, I believe, in the
Right.
movie.
Yeah.
You hear it as he's telling that, especially in 25. It swells up,
Yeah.
and you're like, this is his destiny.
It's his destiny to go to the arcade and play the Temple of Doom video game, which is the only thing I can hear when I hear this music.
I love this music. It's great. I think this is like, this thing is John Williams like at his tippity top. Like I love.
Yeah,
I had this soundtrack and I listened to it until the tape broke.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it was just, it's so good. And I like how this music sort of intertwines with the short round music, which intertwines with the Willie Scott music. It's like, and the Raiders, like, it's great. It was really good, and it has its very auspicious start here in this scene. It really starts to swell, and it's a spectacular backdrop to this very sincere scene. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like a lot of his good score or themes, it can be either triumphant later on, or it can be just sort of moody and inspirational here, or something. He puts a lot of different twists on it.
It's like the Brady Bunch theme of these
Yeah,
soundtracks.
exactly.
It can be sad for when Marsh is walking in after school. It can be happy. Exactly.
Yeah, or like the Odd Couple. They have that one tune they play for every mood in the Odd Couple.
That's right. That's right.
God, I just got sad. The Brady Bunch one.
Well, okay, about music, I got a question. Like, why, as a directorial choice, why do you think they played up the kind of sinister, creepy part when the shaman's talking?
Of this theme, you mean?
Well, not the theme, but like when the shaman's talking and he's laughing, like the music's really kind of eerie. And like,
it is.
Do you think it's just to make it sort of unsettling, or what point do you think he's trying to make?
I think it's the power of the dark light.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, first of all, Shorty says bad news is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, there is a lot of sort of spooky sound effects in the back, especially when he says that line, actually.
Right.
There's a really spooky, like a bird call, or almost, again, like a Dagobah animal thing going, But I think it goes to show that it's mystical.
Right.
Yeah, there's something otherworldly going on. Like powers beyond their control, or pulling strings or something.
Right. Yeah, this is the sort of the figure by the side of the road that George Lucas always talks about, the Yoda figure, the little wizened character at the side of the road who's going to pull them onto the path.
Right.
And the more sound, ammunition you can give to that moment, the better.
There's a really strange... there's something missing here in the shaman's story. It's just this little issue about all these kids.
Right.
What do you mean?
I mean, he doesn't mention the
He
kids
doesn't say
at all.
it there. Right.
Oh, in this story?
Yeah, like
Which
he
you
tells
think would
the
be
whole story.
the lead, right? He buries the lead.
It's a little
Our kids are all
strange.
gone.
And you're like, spoken as a true single shaman.
I lost my
That's
rock. I'd kind of like it back. Oh, by the way, like every kid in my village has been violently taken and beaten.
Yeah.
I love how, like, when I say stuff, nobody responds for like 10 seconds. And Pete's just going, I think I'm going to cut this. I think I'm going to cut this.
Yeah. Or at least just trim that silence just a little bit, and that'll sound more like we know what he's talking about.
No, but I mean, there's something conspicuously missing that he doesn't mention the fact that hundreds of children have been kidnapped
Right.
No, you know what's funny? The reason I didn't respond right away is because, like, watching this over and over again and out of order and stuff, I forgot that they hadn't actually mentioned that yet. Like, we see that there are no kids, but we haven't, like, put that together yet.
Right.
Like, you're right. That is weird that he, there's a darkness that came over the country, but, that darkness is that your kids were stolen? Every last kid in the village? You could just put a name on that. You don't have to be vague. You don't have to call it darkness. You could just say, there's a tangible, solid, earthly, terrible thing that just happened, and this is what it is.
Well, the whole thing could have been like, listen, there's a big palace on the hill, and this really evil, crazy religious zealot came down, and he stole all our kids. Yeah. And he also stole our stone, too, and whatever, that's fine. We'd like to get that back, but we need our kids.
Right.
Yeah, but you can't do that or you're out of a job.
That's kind of true. He gets kicked out of the Shaman chapter.
Yeah. That's true. No, that's a great point.
He's got a vested interest here.
Jaws hands. That's my note.
Yeah.
Jaws hands.
Too.
That's right. Yep.
Shorty is behind Indy, and Indy kind of knits his fingers together in thought, and Shorty does the same thing behind him, and it's straight out of Jaws.
Yep.
And that's great.
I had this as being evidence of that this is Chief Brody's dream.
Yeah, exactly.
This movie.
Yeah. If only I didn't live on this damn island.
Yeah. He was so shocked that he passed out when they were pulling in Ben Gardner's boat. And this is the dream he had.
Yeah. If only Shiva brought me to the 1935 in India. I tried being a cop in the big city.
My kid was there, and it was weird. And we were doing that thing we do with our fingers. And it's crazy.
I'm going to go out here, and this might be unpopular, but I like that gesture between them, and I like it, but I really don't like it in this scene.
Right.
Interesting.
It's as if Spielberg couldn't stop himself from putting a little fun and games in.
I think it would have been great in another part of the movie. It would have been like, I don't know, when they're on the plane, Lao Che's plane or something. Another part of the movie, I get it. Short Round looks up to Indy to see, what the social mores are, what to do, or what's appropriate, or just wants to emulate him, be like him. I get that. That's great. But not here.
You know what?
If he did it when sorry, Tom, I don't want to interrupt, but if he did something imitative when they were arguing over whether or not to eat, the food, and you see him kind of look at Indy and he mimics him, but then throughout this story, at the end of the whole thing, when they cut back to them, he's been mimicking him the whole time. Like that he was so engrossed in the story that he took on Indy's mannerisms. That would have been a better payoff to, rather than just have him kind of slip this little joke in at the end. I think.
I'm going to say, see, this doesn't read to me, like, we're movie nerds, so we get it as a Jaws reference, but in the moment, it just seems like, I like it as, especially at this point, because so far we've only got, like, Short Round, the wheelman with the boxes on his shoes, and yelling at the doll who's yelling at Dr. Jones and stuff. And this is like the first kind of, fatherly, or sort of like Shorty looking at Indy as like a father figure kind of guy, or somebody he's looking up to, trying to be like. He's like literally copying him, and he's wearing his hat. And I think it's a nice sort of non-goofy connection between them, non-pickpockety, non-adventure-y connection between this, parentless kid and this guy who's taking him under his wing. I kind of like it in that sense.
I like it in that sense. I just don't like it in this mystical, sobering minute.
But see, I think I don't know where else in the movie you would get Indy in this sort of thoughtful state and pose, where Shorty could then kind of copy that. I don't know. I think it's like a nice sort of little punctuation on the end of it. I don't know. I think it's like the scene's kind of done. Like this scene inside the hut or whatever it is kind of done, and that's kind of a nice little button on it or something.
It's the button. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really understated too. It doesn't really come front and center. So it's It's real quick, and if you've watched this movie 1,000 times, you see it.
It's not like Indy doesn't look over his shoulder and see him doing it. Ah, you short round.
Which is how they would do that now. Like that's how that would have been the Force Awakens.
Give me my hat back, you little son of a.
Did I ever tell you your parents are still alive?
Psych. They lost you in a card game.
Oh my God. Well, you mentioned it's a button on the scene, which takes us to as they exit the.
Oh, wait! I got one more thing
go
before we
Yeah, I
exit.
got something
Before
too.
we exit.
Okay.
Because I found another Spielberg reference as I was watching this like seconds ago before we started recording. During the Jaws hands moment, the shaman is saying, "Bring back," and it sounded exactly to me like E.T. going home, home.
Please stop that.
Back to,
Jerry, home, home.
Oh.
these are the minutes where Jerry is just totally bummed out. Well, I have something cheerful. I have something that can bring the mood.
Oh, bring us up. Come on.
Please. Be Willie. Be Willie.
I can't scream. Let's take a second to appreciate just how beautiful the shaman's hands are.
Oh yeah,
They're absolutely gorgeous. They're just, he's got these, and it could be the lens, it could be like the way it's shot, but they're enormous, and he's expressive with them, and they just look so smooth. It's like he's made out of sandalwood. It's like he's got these beautiful hands, and he rubs it on his face when he says darkness over whole country.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I can't stop looking at the hands. They're just absolutely, like his face looks like, Phil Collins in the Genesis Land of Confusion video puppet, but like his hands.
You were
are
supposed to
just
bring
gorgeous.
joy after all the home and
sorry,
bring back and.
I couldn't. That's what he reminds me of. Is that,
Is that our new I Just Got Sad sound?
It might be. Oh, we're gonna get sued.
It's funny you bring that up, Scott, because we actually mentioned a few minutes ago what I called a beautiful eye alert, and that
sure.
the shaman has just beautiful eyes,
gorgeous eyes
and
exactly.
hands.
Yeah. Yep. And I like his hair. I like the look. And as a person who went prematurely gray and is now starting to go prematurely bald, I want that look. And I think my wife's not going to like it, but I think I totally want that. And I'm going to get the beads and everything. Yeah.
I would love to see this guy in another movie since he's such a huge actor in India. I'd love to see him in a different role, like completely different from this, because I can't imagine it at all.
Yeah, he was apparently a pretty big deal in Sri Lanka.
The big Sri Lankan movie industry that they had going on.
Yeah.
When are you guys? If we move to outside the house, is that all right?
No.
I'll allow it.
Yeah. So as right when they walk out of the little hut, Short Round says to Indy, Dr. Jones, did they make the plane crash to get you here? And Shorty says, no, it's just a ghost story. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Indy says, no, Shorty, it's just a ghost story. Don't worry about it. Is Indy lying? B, do you ever lie to your son like that, Tom?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. I lie about him. I lied to him. Oh no, I think your mom ate the last pancake. Sorry, son. I think I went to pancake heaven.
That's just he says no, but I thought Mom said you ate the last one.
No,
That's just
no,
a
your
ghost
mother's
story.
a liar, son. I saw her do
Well,
it.
I wondered, why does he tell him it's just a ghost story? Does he actually believe that it's just a ghost story, or is he trying to save Shorty because he's trying to be paternalistic?
No, he fully believes it's a ghost story.
I think it's both, actually. I think that this moment where you were just talking about how the Jaws hands is this like nice little moment between the two of them. This is the first moment where Short Round isn't doing his goofy shorting around routine. He says something, and he looks genuinely spooked.
Yeah, he's
and
being
he
a
says
kid.
like, Right. And he's got a little tiny squeak voice, and he says like, "Is that really true?" And Indy behaves in a very parental way, and says like, "No, don't worry about it. Go to sleep. It's okay." And
right.
But it also is a little bit to me reminiscent of Indy saying, it's lightning, fire, power of God, and waving it off, or saying like, if you believe in that sort of thing,
right.
He's sort of putting up his own defenses, and he's defending this little kid who's his ward, and it's very pretty. It's a pretty little moment.
It is, but it brings up like there's a little bit of Emperor's New Clothes about the character of Indiana Jones across the movies, because I think, like, right here he clearly is not he doesn't think that Shiva brought them from the sky to save these people or anything. He doesn't think that these rocks are magical or anything. And some people will describe that as, here he like totally doesn't believe in this stuff, but by the end of Temple of Doom he does, and then in 1936 he's like a kind of believer, but he's kind of not, and then like in Last Crusade he's kind of a believer. Like I don't see any arc to Indiana Jones that you could map out or follow that he's totally just like a scientist, and he doesn't, he just believes what he can see. And, I don't like, none of the experiences he has add up to like his further experiences or his beliefs or anything. Mm-hmm. He goes back and forth scene by scene.
No, but that's the magic. That's why this works. And a lot of other franchises get really turgid in this regard, is that they carry their characters' backstories around with them and wear them on their sleeves. And he's this character where it's like, I'm a cynic and I'm a scientist, and I'm constantly running into that I can't explain, and it vexes me, and I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. But he's always the same at the end of the. I mean, he's changed for the character arc that's required for the movie, and you feel like, he's softened up a little bit. He's shown some of his soft, chewy inner self.
Right.
But
I mean, you wonder if you wonder if he's an amnesiac.
I don't know. You know what? I think it's kind of, I know what you're saying, but I think I do like this about him. I think if I sounded critical when I was describing that, I think it's that I don't buy when people say that, it's awesome how you can track like Indy's belief system through the movies, because you absolutely cannot even come close to doing that. But I think it's realistic. I think it's really realistic. I think I'm like that. I'm like, I don't really, know what happens when you die or something. I don't know if there's people on other planets and stuff, but, if you show me something, I might buy it. I don't know.
Right.
And like, Pete, you should write this down. I feel like Indiana Jones has been from one side of this galaxy to the other, and he's seen a lot of strange stuff, but he's not necessarily seen anything that would make him believe that some magic rocks, made the kids go away or something.
Well, I like the Brady Bunch song. Like, he could have said the exact same thing he said to Marcus in the next movie and just changed his tone, and we would have kind of gotten the same effect. Like, he'd be like, what are you trying to do, short round? Scare me? You sound like my mother.
Right.
Go to bed, Marcus. It's okay.
But you know what? Here's the problem with it, and that's a good point, Tom. Here's the problem with it. Now, this guy was completely under the spell of bad Kali blood.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's witnessed firsthand this, for lack of a better word, voodoo black magic.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time, the next thing, fast forward ahead, maybe 1-2 semesters, and he's sitting in his living room with Marcus going, you sound like the boogeyman. You're like, you actually experienced the boogeyman.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But he might be like, well, how many boogeymen can there be? I saw one boogeyman.
Right.
Or, you know what? If you fall out of a plane and it crashes and blows up like a TIE fighter behind you, and you land on snow, and you're like, oh, God, this is great. No! And then you fall another 3,000 feet, and you happen to land softly in a river, and you're alive, you might believe in Shiva or
believe
Yahweh.
in Indiana Jones. You might believe that you're awesome.
Well, maybe when he gets to Raiders, he does believe in Shiva. He just doesn't believe in Yahweh.
Yeah, that could be it too. I mean,
That's right.
I know a comment that I'm going to make during a specific scene of Last Crusade, but I don't want to say it yet because it goes right to
Come
that.
on.
That's a teaser.
What I love is I have these questions, but all of you guys have great answers.
Aw, we're a team.
It's true. Maybe he doesn't believe in Yahweh, but he has to go through one religion at a time,
I think he just compartmentalizes really well. I think he kind of, because he's a student of humanity, he's a student of history, he's a student of world cultures, that he kind of says, he's not like, he'd be a really dull character if the first time something mystical ever happened to him, or even just something unbelievable ever happened to him, he suddenly said, "Oh, there's magic in the world. I believe it. Oh, totally."
Yeah.
And then just yapped at everybody about that over and over and over again. He'd be a terrible character.
If he was just like Scully from the X-Files and saw all sorts of amazing, crazy stuff, it was like baloney, like across the board, which he's not. He's kind of like, I believe in that baloney right there, but I don't know about the rest of the baloney.
I don't know if this is going to work. Taking it, I'm going to take it to a fairly personal place very quickly. I'll keep this as brief as I can. But my father-in-law, my wife's father, is a literal rocket scientist. When he was younger, he worked for Grumman Aerospace and worked on the lunar landing module. So there's stuff that my father-in-law has handled on the moon.
Sweet.
And real genuine scientist. And he did that for a while. It was tremendous pressure. It was a high stress job, and then he got out of that and took over his father's real estate appraisal business, and did that for the rest of his work life. But he's at once a scientist. He's also the smartest man I've ever met in my life. Just the smartest person ever.
Yeah.
So he's scientific. He's a scientist. He is an all around smarty. He's also the most devout Catholic I've ever met in my life, and believes completely in that way that you're supposed to, sort of old school, believes in transubstantiation. I'm going to get it wrong because I'm Jewish, but he believes in the miracle, the delicate miracle, and goes to mass constantly, and it's real for him every time. And he doesn't carry that. He'll dip in and out of it. And when it's appropriate to talk, to say something smart that's scientifically based, he'll do that. And when it's important to be sort of interesting in a pep talk, in a pep talk way, to drop a little spirituality on a family member in crisis, he'll do that. It's amazing to me. And he holds the two in each hand with absolute balance. And it wasn't until you guys just started talking about this that I realized, well, that's what Indiana Jones is. He's the ultimate cynic. He's a scientist. He'll only ever use his science to get through an adventure until he can't anymore, and then that's when magic takes over.
Yeah.
And he doesn't walk around expecting magic to get him out of this. And even though he may have witnessed it, he just compartmentalizes it perfectly. And a lot of that's testament to Harrison Ford and the way he plays it. It's just it's easy. It rolls off him easily. The cynic who also believes. So I love that. I didn't mean to take that to
that's
tell
awesome.
that kind of story, but I think that's exactly what I'm going to look at my father-in-law in a whole new light now. It's that he's Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Also hide the good silverware when he comes over.
He's gonna sell all our stuff to Bear. He's gonna steal all our stuff, and Belloc's gonna steal it away from him. So, right. He's got better stuff than we do. So I'm sorry, Ty. What were you just saying?
No, I'm sorry. I was just saying I wish everybody on Earth could be just a devoutly religious scientist. Just because not have to draw a line between those two things, that they could both exist in everybody.
Wouldn't that be something?
That'd be something.
And to be able to sort of realize it's perfectly okay. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
You can be both of those things.
And it all makes sense.
That's right. No, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how any of them do it. And people who can do that and also not be a pain in the ass about it are amazing to me. And that's sort of the Indiana Jones
is that
the ultimate
key?
not a
being
pain in the ass.
about
it. Well, if you think about it, it's like Indiana Jones, Han Solo. It's like I'm a pain in the ass.
Right.
Indiana Jones, not a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah.
but that's all I got on that.
now that minute 25 has solved the problems of the world, do we have anything else for this minute?
Oh, wait. This just in. Professor Christy Porter says about minute 25.
Oh, awesome.
You will go to the Dagobah Palace.
Wow.
I love Christy.
I like she's on
That's
board
pretty
with the
good.
Star Wars references now.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, she may be an amnesiac as well.
I like that Pete fully broke Christy Porter. Just broke her. That's beautiful.
I think we've had, 5 or 6 Yoda references so far already with the Shaman.
Yeah, they're hard to avoid.
Yeah.
Oh, what if he had started off as like a goofball? Like if he was like a wise, like a just a cartoony goon, like, you know, grabbing stuff out of Indy's bag and stuff.
Or like we get the prequel to this, and he's like this crazy fighter. Like he flips around and.
Oh my God.
No! Oh God!
Now I just got sad.
He's got a friend He's got a girlfriend named the Shaman.
Are there any TV theme songs that don't work as sad theme songs?
Yes, the 18.
I was going to say the 18. That's incredible. Oh my gosh. We should be friends.
Unbelievable.
Let's not do our closing music this time. Let's just sing that.
Three's Company? No.
Actually, I think that works, actually.
That could be said. We've been waiting for you.
You're misreading the situation. They're just putting up a shower curtain in there. And they're lonely.
The kisses are hers and hers and his.
Everyone, thank you for listening to minute 25 of the Indiana Jones Minute. I don't know if you want to come back next time or not. We encourage it.
It's a podcast.
I can't.
How do we pull ourselves out of this?
We need Willie to shatter the
Yeah, really. Where's Willie with a cold bucket of water?
shatter the.
Oh, we do
crashed.
We do end with the chieftain, and I swear he sounds exactly like Doug Henning, like the.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, see, I had Marvin the Martian.
They took the stone from here.
Oh my gosh, he does have that. You're right.
Hey, I'm happy now.
Yeah, there we go. That was not
great.
that hard.
That was great, Pete. That was great.
I think we need to thank Pete and Doug Henning, to be fair.
Down at Pete's Rendezvous.
Well, for reals now, guys? Are we done with 25? Does anybody have anything else?
It crashed.
I couldn't possibly top what just happened.
All
so.
right. Just figured I'd ask.
It peaked with the A-team for me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Scott,
So good. Yes.
if you have a problem and if no one else can help, and if people can find you, where do they find you?
If I have a problem and no one can help.
It's an A-team reference.
Oh, it is? Well, I love when a plan comes together. That's all I got. They can find me on the Facebook, Scott Rosann, Rosann, or at scottrosann.com. But that's more of a professional website.
All right.
That's it. That's all I got.
Well, Pete, where can people find our professional website? Or other stuff?
IndianaJonesMinute.com. And you can find us. You can also find Scott Rosann right there.
Beautiful.
And you can find all about the information that broke Professor Christy Porter.
That's right. Have the scales fall from your eyes as you read about the truth behind Han Solo and Indiana Jones and how they're the same dude. Scott, thank you so much for joining us for these past couple of minutes. This has been awesome.
Thanks, fellas. I've had a tremendously good time.
Me too.
Great.
Fun.
Yay!
Absolutely.
And everyone, we hope you had a fun time. And if you did, by golly, come back next time for minute 26 of Temple of Doom here on the Indiana Jones Minute. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do.